Hello everyone, welcome to the class. Today we want to examine factors affecting reading comprehension. Factors affecting reading comprehension. Reading skill is the basis for all formal education, and for a student to cope with academic challenges, such a child should be able to read. And that is why reading is something that we as teachers need to teach our pupils in order for them to cope with academic activities. So like I said, today we want to look at factors affecting reading comprehension. Several factors can affect comprehension ability of the students. Maturity, language skill, vocabulary level, intelligence, method of teaching, and level of energy, the physical and psychological development of the child. All this can affect reading comprehension. But for this particular one, we want to look at comprehension breakdown. Comprehension breakdown. And comprehension breakdown may occur as a result of reading difficulties. So when a child is unable to decode what is being read, then there is going to be comprehension breakdown. Comprehension breakdown can be as a result of reading difficulties. So let's look at what comprehension breakdown means. It means lack of understanding of what is being read. Lack of understanding of what is being read. So comprehension breakdown may set in when the reader is not familiar with the topic of the text, or when the reader is not familiar with the theme of the text. It may also be due to length and complexity of the sentences used by the writer. It may also be as a result of too unfamiliar words, especially when the vocabulary level of the child is lower than the vocabulary used in the text. Organization of the material, complexity of idiomatic expression, and difficulty of the concepts presented by the author. All these also are factors that can cause communication breakdown. So communication breakdown may be caused also by failure to identify author's attitude, author's mood, as well as insensitivity, that is not being sensitive to author's ironic, humorous, deadly serious, or light-hearted attitude. When the pupils, or when our pupils are unable to cope with complexity of idiomatic expression used by the author, difficulty of some concepts, and then when there is failure, when they are unable to identify author's attitude as well as author's mood, and when they are insensitive to author's humor, sense of humor, as well as serious and light-hearted attitude. All this can cause comprehension. How can we help our pupils to overcome vocalization? We should let them know that when it is silent reading, they are not expected to open their lips. And so their lips should be sealed when they are reading. And also, they are not expected to murmur when they are reading. So, except when it is oral reading. Except when it is oral reading. Immediately it is not oral reading, they are not expected to read aloud, they are not expected to pronounce the words, neither are they expected to murmur what they finger pointing. Discourage them from pointing to words when they are reading. Encourage them to use their eyes to read while sweeping across words and also pronouncing words as their eyes go over what they are reading, rather than using their fingers or their pencils to point to words. Let them know that it slows down reading ability and it leads to reading word by word, which hinders comprehension ability. Also, under regression, let them know that they have to read progressively. And so regression is not a good thing. Going back to what we have already pronounced is not good. And it is a mark of laziness. And let them know that it aids poor comprehension. When they are making use of any of this, let's help them, assist them to overcome all this by providing solution that will help them to cope with overcoming all these challenges, so that they will be able to be better person when it comes to reading activity. Having said that, let us look at effective reading techniques. Effective reading techniques. One of the popular techniques used in achieving effective reading is survey. Is known as SQ3R. Is known as SQ3R. One of the effective reading techniques is known as SQ3R. SQ3R means S stands for survey, Q stands for question. The first three the first R stand for read, the second one for recite, and the last one for revise. So let us look at this one after the other. Survey means you read the whole text so that the general picture of the material and the subject matter is identified. So it means when you have general picture of what the material is all about and what the subject matter being discussed in the passage or in the book, that is what is meant by the word survey. To survey means to read the whole text so that the general picture of the material and the subject matter is identified. The Q there stands for question. Under question, it means you raise question based on the subject matter about the main topic, about supporting ideas, about what the author is trying to pass across, relationship of ideas. You raise question on this, and then you read. The first R is read. You now engage in reading so that you read in order to find answers to the questions which you pose, to the questions that you have raised. Ensuring that you have answered the question you posed above. Let's look at another techniques. Another techniques that we are going to examine also include OK4R and 3S3R. Let's start by looking at OK4R. In OK4R, O means overview, K means key ideas or key points, R means read, the first R, the second R means recall, the third R means reflect, and the last one, review. So let's examine them one after the other. Overview means the same thing as survey in SQ3R. It means the reader skims or peruses the material in order to have a general idea about the text. Then the key points or key ideas. Here the reader identifies the key points or main ideas of the text through the overviewing. And the first R is the reader read carefully in detail. Read carefully in detail. Then the second R is recite. After a careful reading, the reader mentally visualizes the key points in the text without any reference to the text. That is, after you have read, you recite, you go over what you have read, you visualize them without making reference to the text. Then the third R is known as reflect. Here, the reader reflects on all the points and the questions raised in the course of reading the text. Here, you go through the points and then you try to examine the questions you have raised. Try to find solution to this question. Reflect on all the points and questions raised in the course of the reading the text. And the last R, that is review. You re-examine what you have read by memorizing the main ideas to check whether the goal for reading has been achieved. You want to see how far the goal of reading has been achieved. So you review by re-examining what you have done. You re-examine what you have read by memorizing the main idea to check whether the goal for reading has been achieved. So let's now look at the other one, which is 3S3R. That is, we have 3S, SSS, then RRR. The first S is survey, the same meaning with survey in SQ3R. So here you glance through the text quickly. The second S talks about study read. Here you start reading carefully and critically. The third S talks about speed read. Here, reading fast with rapt concentration is expected. And the first R, you put into memory what you have read, which is recite. The second R is about review. Here you revise the key points in the text. And the last one is reflect. The last three is the flex, which in this one you visualize what you have read. There are various purposes of reading and various types of reading. We as teachers, we need to develop our pupils. We need to encourage them and we need to help them. We need to let them know that we read in order to obtain information. We also read to acquire new ideas. We need to acquire new knowledge and skills. We need to derive pleasure from new experiences. We need to be critical of other people's ideas, thoughts, and actions. So as teachers, your pupils should be taught purposes of reading. Apart from that, teachers of children's literature need to understand this. That is, the fact that there are various purposes of reading. And so, when we know this, we'll be able to help our students to know how best. It will help us to know how best to teach our pupils how to read and to enjoy literature. Also types of reading such as skimming, scanning, academic reading, reading for pleasure, critical reading, intensive reading, extensive reading. All these should be developed in our pupils. We should let them know that they need these various types of reading in order to cope with academic activities. Teachers should help pupils to overcome factors that hinder reading comprehension and also help pupils to develop procedures for effective reading. This is because reading is very important for a child to cope with academic activities. And so, teachers, especially teachers at primary school level, need to help students to overcome various reading challenges that they might be facing while they are in their classes, so that when they are able to overcome this, they will be able to develop reading culture, which will help them to cope with reading activities expected of them for various academic challenges that they are going to be faced in the course of their study. So, having said that, thank you for listening. We'll see next class. Goodbye.